Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the PortCharlesPodcast, your place for all things General Hospital. I'm your host, Eric, the GH guy, and on this episode, I'm going to make this one kind of short and sweet. I'm going to get to the point, and I'm going to open it up to all of you who are listening because this is one of those topics where I really want to hear feedback. I really want to hear what other people are thinking, and this is about the fact that Steve Burton is coming back to General Hospital. This isn't a spoiler. Well, I mean, I guess it's technically a spoiler, but not really because the show has already put an ad on TV. They ran a little 10-15 second commercial spot a couple weeks ago saying that Steve was coming back to GH. But the question is, who's he going to be playing? Now, it would be natural for him to return to the role of Jason, but in my opinion, Billy Miller has been doing an outstanding job since coming on board, and there's been no word that Billy's going to leave the show. I mean, I hear that there's some negotiatings or something like that, so that tends to lead me to believe that Billy doesn't want to leave the show. I mean, you don't negotiate if you want to leave. So there's no indication that Billy's going to leave. So they're talking, I've heard rumor that there will be some kind of a twin storyline, but here's the question. Who's going to be the twin and who's going to be the real Jason? I guess since we've already gone through the whole story of Billy's Jason getting the new face and everyone accepting him as Jason, that Steve would be the twin playing a totally different character. Ideally, what I'd like to see is Steve go back to being the Stone Cold Jason and Billy's character being the twin. That somehow he was brainwashed by Helena on Cassadine Island. We've already been told that Jason was beaten and brainwashed to do Helena's bidding and killing, but perhaps it was never the Steve Burton Jason that was the victim of this. Maybe he was held away captive while Helena did her programming of Jason's twin. He would have looked just like the old Jason and would explain why he would react violently towards Jake on the island. Because if you remember through all of this revelation that Jake went through and the drawings on the paper with Franco, he remembered that Jason had grabbed him on the island. And the real Jason wouldn't have done that because he would have known that's his son. But a Jason, quote-unquote Jason, that's going through programming would probably not know that that's his son at the time. So it would make more sense as to why that Jason, with his father's face, would grab him like that on the island and would have that violence and those violent tendencies, because maybe it wasn't the real Jason all along. For anybody that's watched in the past, and this was many years ago, I think this was probably the late 90s, maybe around 2000, 2001 at the latest. I'm not real sure, but I'm pretty sure it was around the late 90s, maybe 99 to 2001, somewhere around there. But when Helena kidnapped Lucky, and everybody thought he was dead except for the viewers, and they kind of killed that in a week, but when she kidnapped Lucky and held him away and held him captive and programmed him through, obviously she was programming him through the chess games. If anybody remembers that, she would always play chess with Lucky, and the thing was always protect your queen, and that was kind of the start of the programming of Lucky, so that when he came back to Port Charles, he wasn't the same Lucky. He didn't remember who he was. He reacted violently. He acted out. He wasn't the same guy that Helena had kidnapped. Now, I know, tongue-in-cheek, you could say, well, it wasn't the same guy. It was a different actor. But, I'm talking about the character. The character wasn't the same. So Helena has already shown that she could completely program and hardwire somebody's brain to have memories that she wants them to have, to know things that she wants them to know, to act the way she wants them to act. I mean, she's got that control somehow. And, this would make total sense of this new Jason. because if you think about it, he had to get all of his memories back, and everybody thought it was just because of the accident as to why he couldn't remember anything. Well, maybe it wasn't that he couldn't remember anything, but maybe these were kind of like time-sensitive triggers that over time he's like, Helena has him programmed that at this point in time he's going to remember this, and at this point in time he's going to remember that, and so on and so forth down the line until he starts getting all these programmed memories back into his brain and he remembers them all. So, that would be an interesting way to go with it. And it would make a lot of sense. Now, there is a rumor that somehow some test will be done on Scout and her DNA is not going to match that of who they think is Jason, which would lead to Steve Burton's return as the real Jason. Now, this has not been confirmed at all, so don't take that as a spoiler of any kind. I'm not trying to ruin anything. If it does happen, I apologize because I'm not saying that it is going to happen. I don't know. This is just what I've read over the last week or so. There's been no verification about the DNA part of the storyline and the not matching and everything. So again, just going off of speculation. It's not a spoiler because I don't know if it's going to happen or not. So, what do you think? Who should Steve Burton be playing when he returns? My feeling is I would love for him to return to Jason. As I said in my episode 0, the Jason Morgan character was the one that kind of got me hooked on this whole show to begin with. So while I was extremely resistant to Billy Miller playing Jason when he first came on, I didn't like it. I didn't like the job he was doing. I really have kind of come around and done a 180. I think Billy Miller's doing an outstanding job playing Jason, putting his own self into the role and really kind of making it his own, making it a totally separate character from the Jason Morgan that was shot by Faison. So, that's where I'd like to see it go. But what do you think? Should he return to being Stone Cold, or should he just be a totally new character? Should Steve be the twin and Billy be the real Jason? Send me your thoughts, your comments, your questions to PortCharlesPodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter @TheGHGuy, and I'll discuss them a bit in the next episode if I receive feedback and stuff. Let's get some conversation going. Let's see what we can come up with, put our heads together, and see if we can't figure out, where this thing might be going when Steve returns. I want to thank you all for tuning into the show. Please, again, hit that subscribe button and write a review. It would help me out a lot. Gain more exposure for our show, because this isn't just my show. Folks, I'm doing this show with you. Again, we're a community. We're all a big part of the GH family here. So this is our show. And this would help give our show a lot more exposure and bring in more great GH fans. So please hit that subscribe button, share the show out, tweet it out, Facebook it out, whatever you got to do. I don't care if you stream this stuff on your own social media, whatever it takes to get the show out there for people to listen to, I'm all for it. So until next time, I am the GH Guy, and this has been the Port Charles Podcast.